Annette French. I have lived in Irving since 2010, and I'm happy to present to you the World Kindness Project. Today we'll be honoring 5 honorees that have passed away but left a mark of kindness in the city of Irving and around the country. We'll start with Bob.
Hello, I'm Bob Sheeks. I've lived in Irving since 1987. The person I'm introducing is Fletcher Yates.
Hello, I'm Will DeBerry. I've been in Irving since 1987, and the person I'm going to be presenting tonight is Jack Singley.
Hello, I'm Kay Schecht, and I've lived in Irving since the population was 2,000. And the person I'm introducing tonight is Norma Stanton.
Hello, Sharon DeBerry here, and I've lived in Irving since 1987, and I'm quite proud to present Mrs. Jackie May Townsell.
Hello, my name is Geraldine Miller. I have lived in Irving since 1983. The person I will be presenting is Miss Georgia Morton Farrow.
Well, thank you very much. Those were the introductions to our honorees tonight. I'll start off with a quick question of what makes your honorees special and kind to Irving and to your community?
Dallas County, no, it wasn't Dallas County, it was the State Senatorial District Convention of the Democratic Party in the early 90s. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been 92. And he was the chairperson of the Resolutions Committee. And Mr. Yates at the time was working for American Airlines in the HR department. And my resolution was to halt the war on drugs. Kind of a radical proposition in those days, not so much now. But he was sympathetic, which was great news to me. And we proceeded. I thought we were going to succeed until the last moment when a new person came to the committee and turned it around. So, but I thought, and I talked to him later, and he said that the war on drugs, which Ronald Reagan had escalated substantially, and requiring a lot of drug testing of potential employees, had harmed the people that were applying for jobs at American Airlines, because they were no longer eligible. So what they did at home in their spare time was now being held against them. And so I was proud to know that Mr. Yates had the courage, because back in those days it was a different view about this topic.
Wow, okay, thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Will DeBerry, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about Jack Singley, a man of great character, loved his school district. In fact, he was superintendent before he transitioned to heaven. He also served as teacher and a principal, and I got a chance to serve with him as well as 6 years when I was on the school board from 1996 to 2002. A story I tell everybody: he used to drive in inclement weather during the wintertime to check out the roads and conditions to make sure it was appropriate to send the kids to school on the school bus. And he would drive around, and then he would call me and call the other board members and let us know everything was clear and we could go to school, because Jack was one who believed the kids should be in school because he loved his kids, and he showed that love by making sure they got a quality education. So he was a man of great character. And like I said, he was here for 44 years before he passed away. And I'm just proud to be here to represent him tonight.
Thank you.
I met Norma Stanton at a lot of the League of Women Voters meetings. I met her at City Council, at different parties and activities in the city that I would attend. But I didn't really know her until it was time for DART to be renewed in Irving. And there was a lot of activity against DART at that time, so we were both working to try to keep DART here in Irving. Norma Stanton loved Irving, And I believe no matter where she had lived, she would have given her all to make the community better. While she was here, she established the regional library. Before that, we had, if anyone's been to Heritage Center, they've seen the little house that's on the center, the little whiteboard house, and that was our library. And as a child, I had read every single book in that library. There was one I hadn't read yet, and I brought it home. And it was, I found out through one of my brother's friends who came in and said, "She's reading our history book." So we were very happy to get a regional library in Irving.
Thank you.
Mrs. Jackie May Townsell had many accomplishments. One of the main things that she was known for was being the first Black woman to be elected at large in Irving as a city councilwoman. And she actually served from 1977 through 1995. So that was 18 consecutive years. And as far as I can remember, I think she's still only been the only Black woman to serve on the Irving City Council. She had many accomplishments. She came from the Bear Creek community, where it was a community that was settled by formerly enslaved people, and that was in the 1800s. And they were devoid of many services, city services, etc. So Jackie helped to get water and sewer in the 1980s, about 82, that finally came to be in Irving after they had been incorporated, after Bear Creek had been incorporated by the city of Irving, I think somewhere about 1969.
Thank you.
Tonight, I'm representing and telling you a little about my relationship with Georgia Farrow. Her footprints in the sand began in 1922. Her footprints in the sand ended in 2004. But I was blessed that in 1983 to meet her when I relocated here. She was a member of my church. I witnessed her kindness as she provided benevolence to those who were in need. I heard about the many things she did through the West Urban Improvement Association. If a neighbor had a broken window, if a roof needed to be repaired, if someone passed away and they needed food, or if there was a family needing food, she provided food throughout the year, not just during the holidays. I also know that she wanted a recreation center for children. I can recall her taking me, who had just moved here. Now I know it was probably a board and commission meeting, dinner, and we went, and I don't know whether it was Paul Gooch or one of those people said, "Georgia, the time is right for you to lobby for West Park Recreation Center."
Thank you. And we heard from everyone about their honorees. Last, we have Pastor Councilman at Large of Irving to summarize all of the honorees and what he's learned from all of them.
Well, thank you. Sitting here listening to everybody present their honorees was pretty impressive. Being able to write down the information, I'm just going to kind of give you a quick little summary of what you heard, and then actually just add a few of my comments based on my experience with some of the honorees.
Please.
First of all, Fletcher Yates. Fletcher Yates, as we were told, was a man of courage. He took a stand, and when I listened to Bob talk about him, two words really came to my mind: his courage and his compassion. His compassion for other people, willing to get involved so that other people can, be made better by his actions. I personally had experiences with Fletcher Yates because he and I served on the Western Improvement Association Board of Directors and also were the founding members of the Bear Creek Development Corporation. And I say that because Fletcher Yates did a lot of work out in the Bear Creek community, but he didn't even live in the Bear Creek community. But he had such a compassion for that community that he devoted a lot of time to the Bear Creek community, even up until his death. And so I'm very impressed with Fletcher. The second person, Jack Singley, one of the things that really stuck out with me is when Mr. DeBerry said that he was a man of great character. You know, when another man says that another man is a man of great character, that says a lot. You know, they're coming from somebody, you know, such as Mr. DeBerry here, who I respect. I don't think he just said that just to be saying it. You know, there's something that he's going to mean. Also, what stuck out to me was the fact that, you know, Mr. Berry shared how Mr. Singley on those cold days when you had ice on the ground, he himself would go out and make the sacrifice to drive the roads himself to make sure that those roads were passable and safe for the children, but more importantly so that they did not have to miss any school time, you know, or maybe hearing a weather report that may have had ice in Dallas but not really in Irving. However, you shut down the, you know, the schools in Irving. So I know a little bit about Mr. Singley, you know, during my time in the Irving School District coming up as a student. And now, as many of us who live in Irving knows, there's a school actually named after him, as was mentioned, Jack Singley Academy. Norma Stanton, you know, it's really impressive when women can rise to the level of city council representatives, and especially during that time, pretty much a male-dominated society. I'm always impressed, but I'm even more impressed to hear that she was the chairman at one time of the Dallas Area Rapid Transit system, which is pretty impressive considering that if you understand how those chair positions are attained, the city of Irving doesn't have a lot of votes. So usually it's Dallas that usually kind of controls all of that. So for a female from Irving to rise to that level of being the chairwoman of the Dallas Area Rapid Transit is very impressive. And then also to have the vision to start a regional library, which Kay had mentioned that she actually read some of the books in the library itself. So, and I'm very familiar with that little library that was there. So very impressive that, you know, you got these kind of people who could have devoted themselves to probably anything they want to do in life, but they, out of the kindness of their heart, you know, and their care for other people, they made these kind of accomplishments. Coming to Jackie Townsell, which she's got a very special place in my heart. I had a lot of interaction with Jackie Townsell. I grew up in Bear Creek, still live in Bear Creek, and Jackie Townsell did a lot for that community back in a time where the community actually was in the county before it got annexed into the city limits of the city of Irving in 1969. She was responsible for a lot of things. One of the things, there's two things really stick out with me about Jackie Townsell, and as it was mentioned, you know, she was the first black female to be elected to the Irving City Council. She was actually the first African American, period, to be elected to the City Council. But what's really impressive about her, she got elected at large in a city in the 70s, the 80s. That's pretty impressive. But what's even more impressive is that she served 18 consecutive years. Now, since then, the city has gone to single member districts and term limits, and therefore, her record will never be broken. Her 18 consecutive years will never be broken unless they do away with term limits and somebody can manage to stay on the city council in this city for 18 years. That would be a great accomplishment. But she also is the reason that I ran for city council. It was Jackie Townsell who impressed me, and who, as I watched on city council and I watched what she did to try to better Bear Creek community, I was inspired by her to actually run for city council. I'm now in my 10th year as a city council member here in the city of Irving. And then Georgia Farrow, you know, I had some experience with Ms. Farrow also, but just like Ms. Miller said here, she was very opinionated, strong black woman, very strong. I like what you said, because she was kind of classy. You know, she was classy. She was very proper when she spoke. You know, and if you go and Google Irving's hidden history, you'll actually see her being interviewed on that about the community and about her family. But also, as a young man, I benefited from her desire to have a recreation center in the Bear Creek community. She fought long and hard to get a recreation center for us to be able to, you know, have a place to go and recreate. Also, her benevolent heart, I heard that come from Jerlene here, how she not only would help people in her church, but she would also help anybody in the community that needed something. I saw that myself. And finally, you know, because of her great work and her efforts, there's now a state-of-the-art recreation center named after her, the Georgia Farrow Recreation Center in the Bear Creek community, which the city of Irving just finished within the last year, like a $3 million renovations to it. So all of these people that you heard tonight, you know, have been very kind to our city, and we are better for having them to be a part of our city.
Very nice. And I appreciate you very much for sharing all of your stories and spreading the kindness. Thank you.